Familia, ¿cómo estamos? Welcome to the Progressing Male. I'm Francisco Gomez, navigating the ship, and here I am trying to create an open space to have conversations that maybe are challenging and have stigmas attached to it. I want to break down the stereotype that men cannot communicate, that we can't access our feelings, and that we are not allies. That is so last season. Here, we are trying to cancel culture, because if the conversation is tough, let's just talk it out. Let's talk it out, damn it. Don't cancel me, talk to me. So if you're listening and viewing this on YouTube, please feel free to join in the conversation in the comments below. We would love to hear your thoughts about what we say. And yes, I've said the word we a couple of times. As you know by now, I am not alone. To my right, I have commercial dancer to the stars, Kane Silver.
Hello, Wembley.
And then to my left, I have...
Come on now.
Tell him who it is.
Tell him who it is.
Tell him.
He's actually the UK equivalent of Marion, in my opinion, if not better.
When he was in B2K.
That's right.
Not now.
The multi-talented GOAT of the UK. Dwayne Nosworthy.
Yes. Francisco Gomez.
¿Cómo estamos?
Hey.
I confuse you guys sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, it's Francisco Gomez, or sometimes I'm like, it's Cisco Gomez. It's Francisco Gomez. But when we get comfortable, as we are familia, you can call me Cisco if you see me on the road.
There you go.
Or sis.
Okay, calm down. That's triggering. That's triggering. Fanny and Sis.
Oh my
Sorry,
God.
Today's topic, boys.
All right, here we go.
We are talking
Hold on
about... No, it's not that bad.
You said this.
We are talking about happy endings.
Wait.
Mind out of the gutter.
Oh, okay.
You
All right.
nasty, nasty little bitch.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Happy endings. I've noticed with all the relationships, both romantically
Yep.
and non, that the reason why a lot of people's happiness is stunted is because of the lack of happy endings, the lack of full stops, the lack of the end of the chapter.
Okay.
As men, I believe that we don't really dive in and maybe have to go back to something to iron it out, to find out the reason, the explanation for it, so then we can be like, and done. It's done. I never want to see it again, maybe. Right? And that's what I mean about happy ending. We've got maybe we have things in our lives that are interrupted, that have a ... and we really don't see how profound not going back and finishing that topic, what it does to us now as men, as people. And so I wanted to ask you guys, is there any situations that have, and I'm going to come to you, Kane, first, because I know you're like a master at, okay, it's happened. Okay, I'm moving on.
You are a master of that.
You don't really deal or finish. You know what I mean? A situation when it happens to you. I've said the situation a lot. # situation.
Sitch.
Or sitch. Is there something, Kane, that you can share with us that's quite, not deep, well, yeah, deep or not, but like that you know that you haven't settled or you wish you have?
That's a deep question, Cisco.
It is. I like it deep.
Okay, happy endings. Deep. Where are we going?
I don't know. Like, sometimes, like, so past relationships, if they've finished on bad terms, or like I've removed that person from my life, sometimes I'm like, what if I could go back and be like, but why? And figure out what went wrong or why it went wrong or how the situation happened.
That's a perfect
Sometimes
example.
I'd like to go back and be like, okay, so why did you act like that? Or why did you move that way? Why did you do those things? Did I do something wrong? Is there something I can learn? Maybe that I did. Maybe I didn't force you to make those decisions or those choices, but maybe my actions
Contributed to you making that decision.
So I can learn for myself. But I'm Dory and I just keep swimming and I haven't gone back.
So what situation, actually no, look, we'll come back to you because I'm going to make you think of a situation, because here in this show, we're going to find out why. And the how.
Because we need to get to the spiel.
Yeah, exactly. By keeping it real. Dwayne, how about you, sir?
That's, you know what, when you asked Kane, I was kind of like going around in my head to see if there's a particular situation. I would say, again, I have to be very careful about situations I speak about, but it's mainly, I would say it's probably my mum. Like, and not my relationship with my mum, but her situation, like what she's gone through. And I have to be careful again about speaking about that. I know my mum's very private, but I like to publicly share whilst privately own. So I'm working on how to do that because I want people to understand, because we want them to,
Learn
from what we're saying.
We'll make your mum sign an NDA. It'll be fine.
Well, what it is that my mum has her own stuff that she's dealing with.
Okay.
And it's kind of like, dealing with based on her past, like her coming up as a young, and when I say dealing with, I mean like from like childhood. So her life, her childhood trauma. And I think me recognizing and realizing that there's nothing I can do about that. Like, I'd love to go back and figure out what that's all about, because it still plays a part on my life to this day, even though my mum doesn't really believe in ancestral trauma. She doesn't actually.
Doesn't she?
Not really. She's like, you didn't go through it, I did, and I did everything in my power to ensure you didn't, which she did. But she doesn't understand, by not dealing with it, I still feel it.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Of course.
And just like, say, things that she's gone through, there's a part of me as her son, and I'm, again, stereotypically, and as a man, I want to save her. I want to go back and figure out
her.
I want to protect her. I want to know what that is. So not only do I want to stop the cycle, and I feel I've had to battle with knowing that I can't go back to do that. I have to just be the leading example of the change that it is that I want to see. So kind of recognizing that I can't go back and figure that all out, and actually going, I have to sit with myself and just kind of work it out for myself to be the best leading example of the change that I want to see.
Because do you think the inability or the not want for your mum to fix and help herself, that it irritated, or if not irritated, excuse me, it affected you?
Yeah, 100,000%.
And does it still affect you?
It still has an effect.
Okay.
It does. It's no longer any kind of leading effect.
Okay.
Like, I know who I am, or rather, should I say, I'm constantly knowing who I am, because every day is evolving. But I know who I am, and I know that I'm epic, and I know my mum's epic, and I know she's done the best she can with what she has. And it's not my job to fix her. It's not my job to fix anyone. It's not my job to fix this issue per se. It's my job to be the best I can be the leading change of the leading example of the change I want to see, and be the solution. Like, focus on the solution. And if I can't change that, like my mum's life, even though I know it's a contributing factor to me, mine, and my children's life, I still have to just be okay with that. You know what I mean? I'm all right with knowing that I don't have all the answers per se, but I can still contribute change, and I can still contribute to being a part of the solution moving forward. So I don't need to go back in order to figure things out, because it's okay.
But where does that leave you now then? Because that sounds like you've moved on.
Yeah.
But your mum is still there. So how does that equate to a happy ending?
Well, it's a happy ending for me.
Right. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, is it more for you?
It's more for me, and hopefully it can help contribute to it being a happy ending for my mum. But ultimately, I don't have power over that. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't make that happen for her. Only she can do that. Like, as much as everything she did in her power to make me be happy, and she did a great job, in actual fact, she couldn't make me happy, because I was still feeling the remnants of that trauma. Do you know what I mean? So regardless, I still had to confront it myself, for myself.
And with that, obviously exposing your mum's traumas and your mum's business, what did you feel, or what was it exactly that was affecting you, that you knew that you couldn't lead with that anymore?
My mum's pain, man.
As simple as your mum's pain.
It's as simple as that. It was her pain. It was really hard for me as a son to watch her in such pain, knowing there was fuck all I could do about it. Like, nothing. Do you get what I mean? And that was hard.
Is it because you thought you were failing or incapable?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Because there was nothing I could do, and I knew I was the child, so it was cool. But then when I became older and a man, I can do this. And then actually you come to a more realization that you can't. And that's quite difficult to come to that realization, because let's put it straight. My mum is a beautiful, epic woman, and she's done an amazing job being a mother to me. Do you know what I mean? But that has come at a cost and it's come at a sacrifice. And I've had to, because you learn that. Because remember, you learn to emulate what you see. And I always say to my mom, like, you wouldn't want me to sacrifice myself for my kids or anyone else the way that you sacrifice yourself for me, would you? And it's difficult for her to answer because the answer is, no, I don't want you to do what I did.
Oh, really?
Of course not. What, like you ask any parent, if most parents, in particular mothers, I'm not saying dads don't, but in particular mothers, their love language to their children is to sacrifice themselves.
Yeah.
Right?
So they think that that's love.
Yeah.
And it's
So
not.
harming. Yeah.
It's self-harming.
It's so old school too.
And you're now teaching your children to do the same.
that.
So my thing is that I teach my kids by being the example of being the leading example of the change I want to see. Yeah. So I teach them that I am the first and most important priority in my life.
You've said, yeah.
Right. So therefore they do the same.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what my mum taught me. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. And she knows that she didn't teach me that, as in her example. She taught me that, do as I say, not as I do. That's how we grew up in a Black West Indian household. Children are seen and not heard.
Yes.
Do you understand?
Same.
Do as you're told, period. When I became a man, now my mum has brought me up to be, like my mum would say, oh, I gave you a voice. And I said, no, you did give me a voice, but you never gave me a voice to speak against you. I couldn't speak up to you. I could speak up as long as everything I was saying was agreeing.
Suited you.
Right.
Oh my God, so old school. My mum is the same.
Exactly. So my mum gave me a voice. You can see Cisco Speaks. You got the similar thing. It's that woman of color, right? Like they're very strong, and that strength is a beam of light, but it's also deafening.
To their detriment.
Yeah, because you're like, wait. Like I remember I had to tell my mum I'm leaving college to go dance. I wanted to be a dancer. That's how I became a dancer. This is before Jamelia, this is before I was getting paid. This is me going to size 9 CNC. I'm paying and teaching. I'm paying to learn at size 9 and teaching at CNC. I weren't getting paid. I never even knew about Top of the Pops. Had no clue. And I had to sit my mum down and say, I'm leaving college because I want to be a dancer. It's the first time I'd ever gone against my mum. Everything my mum tells me to do, I do.
And that's what, at 17, 18, sorry?
I was 17.
17, yeah.
17. Yeah. I'd never done that in my life. I just knew academically I wasn't strong. Or at least it didn't make me feel fulfilled, made me feel like me. Dancing was the first time I could feel like me. I fell into dancing. So it's the first time that I was fearless. So I stood up to my mum and I told her. Obviously, she broke down. It's the first time I kind of saw my mum not trying to force herself upon me, because she kind of knew this is it. This is where he's at.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the next day she kicked open the door and said, you better go find work. And that's find work for those of you that I need to translate. Yeah. Get up, find work, right? Because you're not going to be no lazy bum in this house. Yeah. So, and she kicked open the door before she went work, and that was it. That was the time when I found my voice and I started to speak. But it was then I started to see the trauma in my mum as well. And then
she wasn't looking after you as much, so then you got to see her without being mum mode, and you got to see the true self.
What I call my mum knows. There's a difference between mum and Barbara. Right? And Barbara is hurt. Mum goes into sacrifice mode almost, which is the mum love. They do anything for their child. Mum will do anything. When Barbara is triggered and Barbara comes out, everything could be destroyed.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? And it was those things I was trying to recognize. Why is Barbara like this? Why is Barbara doing this? It still came with the same love, but the love was loaded with like trauma. Because she was doing it. She was doing the best she knew. She wanted to protect me, but it was like, you were stifling me. You were stopping me from being who I needed to be. Do you know what I mean? Now, obviously, as soon as I did Jamelia video, obviously that changed. You see me, son? You see I am so well? Everything changed. Now, like, the pride my mom has, and, she'll be telling me what to do. You should go do that movie, son. Yes, you'll be amazing. Yeah,
because all they needed was the confirmation.
Yeah.
Because they can't see dance as a profession.
No.
They can't fathom that because they have no examples of that.
At all.
And she couldn't be the mum and help you get there.
No. So now, my mum anything I need, especially say financially, emotionally and spiritually and everything, of course, but financially, my mum is like, and she's not rich, but it's just me and her on my mum's side. So like, even she would hate me saying it, but even throughout the COVID, the pandemic, my mum was there highly for me financially, and most people can't say or have that, and that's difficult. Even that, as a man, I would say to people, as a man, some men would find that difficult. I had zero problem receiving.
Come on, that's amazing.
Yeah?
Yes,
because I
that's
knew
amazing.
that was my job as a man to receive that.
Come
so
on.
I could financially be there for my children, so I could emotionally and spiritually be there to show them what it looks like. You have to learn not only how to give, but how to receive.
But a lot of men will be like that was stripping out their manhood.
Exactly.
And I never understood. I can see why, but I can never understand why.
Because again, the conditioning.
Yeah.
They say you're not a man if. You're not a man when. You're not a man cause.
Yes.
And all of these things and all these stereotypes tell you that you're not. And for me, I was like, no, I am. And I'm going to receive this. This is me and my mum. Because there was a time where, well, it's always been me and my mum. When I was making money, my mum hasn't had to fend for me financially from I was 18. Right. 17, 18. I was working in Dosey's, shout out, right? And then I went on to become a professional dancer, making money. I was making more money than my mum, So whatever she needed, I was like, what do you need?
Of course.
The house needs decorating. Son, I just need a couple of grand. I need actually more than, whatever you need. You got access, take. I don't care. Birthdays, like you said, I would treat her. It didn't matter. I could do that. Because it was just me and her. So getting back to the point, sorry, Cisco, was that for me, it's dealing with that. It was working that out and realizing that I didn't have to go and fix it.
Because at that point, you were a fixer.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. It wasn't just my mum. It was anyone in my life.
Yeah.
All the dancers that we know, that we've helped mentor and come up, both myself and you, we have. I had to be there. I was dad. And I ended up, well, not only hurting them, but hurting myself in the long run, and it was about me saying yes to me first. And when I learned how to say yes to me, it taught me that it wasn't about me saying no to anyone else. I was just saying yes to me. If it happens to be a no to you, it's a no from me.
It's a no from me.
But it was always actually, it's a yes for me.
Yeah.
And that was my leading thing, saying yes to myself.
Interesting. What about you, Kane? Is there a situation, a happy ending that still has a ... that
I don't think there's a happy ending that still has a ... because I believe I'm still living my happy ending. So say the one I can think of is like a past relationship with the partner I was with in LA. She cheated on me. We broke up, and I felt like I contributed my all to that, that relationship, to that teamwork. Like I was present. I gave my everything constantly. And then for her to cheat on me, I was like, why? And even I feel like when it happened, she probably wasn't brave enough or didn't have the heart to be like, because maybe I like someone else more. Like, I don't know, whatever it may be. But I couldn't understand what I had done wrong. Because I was like, I'm dope. Like, I'm such a great partner. Like, and I genuinely am. Like, I still believe I am. The same way I'm a great friend. Like, I gave you my all, so I couldn't figure out why. So I don't feel like I need to have the happy ending because I wouldn't have my partner now.
Oh, wait. So to this day, you don't know why, or you haven't had the conversation?
Because again, I just do the whole, cool, peace out. I'll keep swimming. Let's go.
Oh, my God.
There we go. And like, I've met my partner now. I'm engaged. I have a puppy. I have a house. I have the best life. But is there something that I did? Even though I don't think there is.
Yeah, but
you never know.
That's still an option.
Like, you know what I mean? It could be like, actually, you were too much. You were too giving. You were too supportive. I don't know. It could be anything. But I always go, I wonder if it was like looking back on it now as a 32-year-old compared to looking at myself as a 24-year-old. Was I too much?
Right.
Was there something I did that maybe moved her, swayed her, or pushed her away? Because I would never want to do the same thing now.
So it doesn't eat you?
No, not at all. Because I know, like, I have the best. I know myself, and I know that I did nothing wrong, and I gave my 100%.
And it's also led you to where you're at now.
And it's led me to where I'm at now, which is pure happiness. And
you're in your happy ending.
Yes, that's what I was saying. I don't know if it is a happy ending because I'm doing my happy ending.
Right.
This is it. I'm in it. But maybe it would teach me something about myself that I might not make bring that again in the future.
Right.
If it is a me thing, I don't know.
That's my thing.
Because it might not be a me thing. It might be just she's a cunt. Like,
Yeah.
it could just be she's
I like how you slip that in.
Yeah, it could be just it could be she's a straight up
He was being
dickhead.
so pleasant, and then he was just like, "I just want to let it know." She did the cunt move.
Yeah, she
All,
did.
all our listeners are like, he's not over it. No, no.
But you know what I mean? I'm like, I don't believe it's a me thing. But you don't know. You don't know until you know.
There's always
There's always an element of it being
a you thing.
A you thing.
A lot of people find that difficult to.
Yeah.
But again,
and
you
I'm
don't
sure
know
there
what that
is.
is.
That's why I'm like, maybe if I figured that out or I had that conversation, but I don't need that conversation
Yeah.
because where I'm at is beyond fantastic.
Well, the fact that you're open to say that whatever it is, I don't know what that is, but I'm open to learning something.
yeah,
about
if
myself.
she
That's
messaged
enough.
me and said, "Do you know what? It was because of this," I go, "Okay, cool, appreciate it. We don't need to talk any further. I will learn my lesson. I will make sure I don't take that trait if it's a negative one into the future." But it could just be like you were too awesome for me.
I find it really hard, and that's it. And I know that it's a me problem. I find it really hard to not have a ribbon wrapped around every situation.
Really?
You need
Yeah.
a full stop.
Yeah,
end of
I do.
everything.
I do, just because it's for me in the sense where like you
You need
said, Kane,
closure.
well, no, the thing is, if you cheat on me, for example, and it's a bad breakup or whatever, our goodbyes is enough. Like, trust me, I don't need to go down the rabbit hole to figure this shit out. You're a cunt, as you said. Do you know what I mean? But if there was no malice and things turn left, and then it has me thinking, oh, well, clearly I'm a contributing factor to it. Can I please know so I can improve? And I'm not honored that conversation. That got to me, because I'll be damned if I'm not learning from every situation. And so my two happy endings, one of them got a happy ending recently, but one is still ... And it doesn't annoy me just because my career's moved on from that. But I got fired from Fifth Harmony. So I was assistant.
Fifth Harmony.
Yeah, I was assistant creative director, and the creative director, she's a good one in the sense of she's actually one of the nice ones. You know what I mean? Almost too nice for the industry kind of shit. And we had already worked underneath someone that didn't treat her or could have treated us in the
Better.
best way,
Yeah.
in a healthy way.
Okay.
Because every boss has the right to run their ship how they want to, but respect, I'm sorry, it's
Like you said,
international,
man,
and
come
it
on.
shouldn't be tampered with.
Yep. Agreed.
So we've got something that we kind of shared together, that wanting to be appreciated and valued just with a bit more respect. Ask what you want, but keep it in the realm of respect. So now I'm in LA working with her. She's my boss. For those that don't know, girl bands are my fucking thing. I live for a girl band, and I've always lived for Fifth Harmony. So to me, it's like a massive check. I don't get along with the choreographer, and through no fault of mine. What I knew walking into the job is that why has he been overlooked for this role? He's been the choreographer for a few years, and so he's felt a certain way when other people have brought in, so his hairs were up. But I prepped myself for this because I'm not here, but I'm the newbie. You've been with these girls for years. I'm coming here for one project only for an award show. Mate, I'm just here to do my job. And also,
I'll be out your hair.
yeah, and also I know him, so I support him and I value him, and I still do. You know what I
Right.
mean? I don't think we see eye to eye because we haven't seen each other since that situation. But long story short, I've got a requirement. I've got 2 requirements. The girls need to do 2 numbers. And I get there at the ending of the first day, and I only see 1 number. There's barely finished. And so naturally I ask, what's going on? And that didn't go too rightly for him. My boss is not there. I'm there running the ship. So then there's a heated situation where he's given me
Wow.
all.
So he's come ready. He's come prepared.
come
Even
ready.
though you were prepared as in, I know I'm going to get some sass.
Yeah.
I weren't expecting this amount
No,
of sass.
well, I didn't expect sassy because he knew me.
Right.
But little did I know how deep the trauma was for him and the slap in the face for him.
Right.
That's not my problem. Let me do my job, brother.
Yeah.
So anyway, so then it gets back to her. Obviously, I tell her straight away, my boss. And I guess she takes me off the job because she's like, he's like the furniture with those girls. He ain't going anywhere.
Yeah.
And so the common denominator is you.
We can change you.
I was just like, whoa, because I can still get my work done. I just thought I would tell you just so you don't hear it from someone else. And also because it's my job to report. And then one of the things she said was like, well, Cisco, why were you so rigid? I was like, wait, you gave me 2 things to do. One of them were not done. So I asked a question. That's it. I didn't reprimand him. I didn't ask him to stop rehearsals. I didn't do it in front of the girls. I took him privately. I did everything I did. If you would have said to me specifically, you know, he has his methods of working. If you don't see the work, whatever, don't worry, trust his process, blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't have said shit.
And you were given a task and you wanted to achieve.
I was working for you based on the notes you gave. So I went to...
Right. So I get let go. But there was someone else assisting me that she'd chosen, and she'd been asked to come back from her previous job. And I found that weird because it felt like she wasn't satisfied with me. So she needed this other person.
Just in case.
But for me, it's just like the only thing I can't do is spreadsheets. That's the only thing that we came into collision. She asked me to do a spreadsheet once to put like we would do in Americans Got Talent. And she asked me to do a spreadsheet about something. And I was like, oh, I'm not used to doing this. Can you please let me know and you teach me what's kind of thing? And she kind of went, what? And I was like, I've never had to do it. I've always been the 5, 6, 7, 8 guy. You know what I mean? I can draw you a presentation easily, but I can't do that. Anyway. And then this assistant comes. She's very talented. And so at first I was like, either she doesn't trust me by myself, she needs both of us, or I'm on the way out. Either way, I didn't care because I was doing Fifth Harmony. So I'm like, let me just do it a job at a time. So then when I got let go so easily, I was just like, I was really hurt because I was just like, where does this come from? It was just before Christmas. And so she decides that she'll pay me up to then, obviously. And then the person that was taking over now would carry on. But luckily I'd seen the job to the end. So all that I wasn't there for is the performances. But again, that's not nice. But also I want an explanation specifically because I just told you this other person's been there. So I think you're dissatisfied. And all I want to know is why. Because then if I do assist someone else in the creative direction department, I'm not going to make that mistake again.
It's a lesson.
Me. So then I emailed her, can we talk? Because I thought we had a rapport. And she shut it down, bitch. She was like, how dare you? Like, I don't owe you no explanation. And this is a good one, by the way. And I was just like, at the time, I was like, yeah, because her thing was, as a woman in the industry, she felt like sometimes she got overlooked or that she didn't have the cojones to do certain things. So the way I spoke to her in the email, which, by the way, was as professional as it could be, I was tailoring it to a friend.
Right, so it wasn't like...
No.
Like professionally, it wasn't like pure professionally written. And even if it was still professional and polite.
It didn't start with like, excuse me.
Yeah, yeah, do you know what I mean? And then like, she spazzed out on me. Oh, sorry, I used the S word again. Sorry, I know I'm not allowed to use it. Apologies. She went buck wild on me and I was just like, oh. And I got more hurt about that because that now is the disrespect, especially what you've been through or what we've been through with another person. End
of the happy ending for you.
Well, no, like, because then I didn't get. She didn't.
That's what I mean. It was
like
she kind of just.
She shut. That was it. She shut it down.
She shredded it. For
so
you.
I never got to find out what exactly is it that I need to improve on, and that really hurt my feelings.
Right.
Does it still bother you? Yeah.
It not now, but it took about a year or two.
What bothered you mostly about that?
The disrespect.
Right.
I one thing I can never get used to is disrespect. And because I'm not around people who disrespect me or disrespect others, it's something that really, really gets to me. And it's kind of like, I've done my part. And if you were unsatisfied, all you had to do was say, because I've created a space as someone underneath you to have it open. I've always said to any of my bosses, straight no chaser. As soon as you're unsatisfied, as soon as you're like, you let me know. I'm here to serve you.
Right.
I'm never too big for the job, and my persona, my vibrato will never make my bosses feel any less than. I'm good at that. I don't mind working underneath anyone at all. I always have. And so it was the disrespect, and I was like, you're actually one of the bloody nice ones.
Wow.
And it hit me in a really rough patch because I had spent my money doing other stuff, prepping, waiting for this check to give my friends their Christmas presents and da-da-da. And I was broke for that Christmas. And everything changed because I was just like, why am I put in that situation again? Because I'm replaceable. I wasn't the choreographer, that was unprofessional and made it awkward.
Yeah, it's not like you didn't actually break a rule or do something wrong, yet you were reprimanded for nothing.
Do you know what I mean? And I was like, and the technicalities of it, because this other girl is now kind of like shadowing or assisting or is now with me, that means that you're not happy with something. I would like to know that. And I thought that you would at least give me that. And since this relationship is now severed, can we at least talk about it? Because I need that. I would like that. And
you got shut down.
Shut down.
Like hard shut.
Yeah, it was like how, basically in the email, I'm paraphrasing, but she was like, how dare you? I don't owe you anything like that, blah, 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 blah. It's my decision. Da, 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 da. You have to respect it, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, yeah, I do. I get it. But like,
I'd like to talk
but
about
I'm
it.
like, it's me. Hi.
Would you be willing to have that conversation again?
Well,
because I know you. No, and I know what you're like. I know you.
Yeah.
You would be like, look, I understand what's happened, but please, could you please?
No, I don't. It took a while for me to get over it, and I don't. I think the problem is that she now has 2 children, and she, knowing her in various parts of her life, she's always wanted that. And when the kids came finally, her first one, I couldn't be there. I did not even one text. And it wasn't being petty, it's because I was still hurting. And I was like, if I'm going to genuinely congratulate you or like give you blessings or whatever, it has to come from a point of genuine
I agree.
heart. And I wasn't there. I was like, and because I don't see this person at all, or they're not part of my circle at all, it was like, pay you no mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The situation was dead to me as soon as like she made me feel that way. Do you know what I mean? But then it's like a bit out of character for me. And then she has a second child. And I'm just like, well, I'm in a different place now. But now it's really orcs because
I didn't message on the first one.
Yeah. And so for me, if I'm ever in a situation like this, well, how I would deal with it would be a face-to-face encounter. Because I think certain things are meant for text, some are meant for Zoom, and some face-to-face. So
Text
I think with this particular person, it's a definite face-to-face for me.
Yeah.
And so with that situation, I think the ... the lack of happy ending is now not what you did to me or how can I improve on this? It's more like the man that I'm becoming wouldn't do that, or the man I am now wouldn't do that. And even through the disappointment and disrespect that I felt, I still would have and should have congratulated you and sent you flowers or whatever, because I know what those babies meant to you. It's miracle babies. You know what I mean? That kind of vibe.
Right.
And so I know that once I'm back in LA, I will do that. And I'm happy that I'm not in a situation now where like I need to know why, but I think she's going to maybe think this is a bit out of pocket. So I'm going to have to be, look, the way things ended, I felt disrespected. I didn't like, but that doesn't matter anymore. You made a professional decision to save your end of the court, and it worked for you. And that's fine.
Right.
I respect that now. You know what it is about forgiveness? It's like to receive it or to give it, there's always peace that is present with it. But again, I've been at the top of my game for a while. So these type of people I'm not around anymore.
Yeah.
So to expect to receive that from someone who's, like I said, and still is one of the nice ones, was like, it made me for 1 second or for a season, for the Christmas season, it was horrible, feel like, fuck, everyone's a twat in this industry, really.
If the good ones are like this.
Yeah. And I'm just like, oh my God, I would never.
The industry can do that to you.
Yeah. But you would think after being in it for like, at that time, 17, 18 years in the industry, that it wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Especially at such a high caliber job. You know what I mean?
I'm not excusing people, but what I've tried to figure out the older I've got is like to maybe try and think that they might be going through shit too. Like there's been jobs where I've worked with people and I'm like, yo, you're a dickhead. You don't need to speak to me like that. And then when I take a step back and I really analyze it, I'm like, oh, they were going through it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's an excuse.
No, you're not saying to tolerate bad behavior, but you're
it.
saying at least acknowledge it.
Yeah. Because that could be a something.
Yeah, no, definitely. And
because Cisco on X Factor isn't Cisco, my friend.
No.
You were a different person doing X than who you were when we were at Freedom, because you were under extreme pressure as well. So you would react and respond differently.
Definitely. But I just think with how this person was in her life at that time, where did that come
That
from?
didn't. It was too big of a switch.
Yeah, the relationship was fine as far as I knew. As far as she told me what I saw as well. You know what I mean? Like this is how she reacted in particular to this moment. And I think she was like, I'm not going to risk losing this job because of this altercation. And I'm just like, well, you're not. You know what I mean? But you have to do what you have to do. At the end of the day, I do respect that you have to do what you have to do. But I'm just like,
it's just still weird.
I'm able, I'm able and capable to sort this out, because if I had to go and actually shoot the content, because it was 2 shows, that's fine. I would still greet the choreographer. It's just that we don't see eye to eye anymore, and that doesn't need to be.
You don't need to be besties.
We don't, and we would never be. Do you know what I mean? Because that was the first time I actually got to see his ugly. And that is something that I don't want anything around my life. I can still appreciate your work, and you're killing it. Very talented choreographer, and I'll never dog him for that. But professionalism, you and I speak a different language, but we can still coexist, because I'm like that.
Yeah.
So
and you're open to change, because people do.
People do. Yeah.
People do change.
Yeah. But, that was one situation that I didn't get the happy ending. And it was just like, it took me a while, because I'm a person also that if there's no full stop, it replays and replays and it replays. And I'm like, because I try to look at it from every single angle, and this didn't have too many angles. A and B happened. Right. There's no hidden gems.
How are you
anywhere.
with that now?
Now I'm fine. I think the only thing
not just that situation, but in terms of, like you said, like, do you still have to? Does it still replay? Does it still replay for you if you don't get that happy ending? Like, even now,
I think I never put myself in a situation where a happy ending can't happen.
Right.
So before you're about to jump or press the eject button, I'm like, 1 second, and because I'm not going to live in inconvenience.
Right.
Respect, even if we don't like each other, that shouldn't be optional. You know what I mean? And I just like, if I can take away as much as information and nutrients from this situation to help me and help others, then I will. And I'm sorry, I'm not gonna give you another count, because I might lose you after that.
Yeah, you're not gonna jeopardize or sacrifice yourself for that.
Yeah,
and, all right,
because
that's beautiful.
Because it eats you.
It does.
You. And
it really does.
Me as an overthinker, it does.
It's a no from me.
It's a no for me. But yeah, I have more recently, especially because I'm just like, not that she was expecting anything from me anyway, but I was like when she was going through that side of her life, that beautiful additions to her family, like I would be the person, whether I'm working with her or not, to send her a flower or to send like a small little
because that's
outfit.
actually who you are.
Yeah.
So it just felt like, that's why did I have to stifle that?
Yeah, because at the time I was like, the first one I was like, I'm not ready, and I'm not guilty for not being ready.
Yeah.
And then the second time was a bit like, well, it's been so long now, and I'm at peace with it. Do you know what I mean? But being at peace with it still meant that I was hurting, because if I was really, really okay with it, the gesture would have overpowered my hesitation.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. And then my second one, which is, oh my God, never ending, is my mother. So when you said your mother, I was like, I get it. Because my mother is, I thought for years, the most complex person ever, because I was like, our problems are so easy, but why is it so difficult? And so I made.
When you say your problems, you mean between you two, or your life problems?
Oh no, no life problems. I was living. It was me and her specifically. That was the problem of my life. Minus the odd boyfriend here and there, which is life. You know what I mean? But like, my mom raised me. You know what I mean? And she, with the resources she had, she did an amazing job. You know, I'm a testament to that. She's responsible for my foundations, and she's also responsible for my resilience and tenacity. And she didn't teach me that in black and white. I soaked that from her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But at 21, I made the decision to divorce my mum, because I was like, this is too overbearing and toxic. And the trajectory I'm going at professionally is going so sweetly and so quick. I'll be damned if my mum's going to derail me. And so when I divorced my mum, at the time, it was the best thing ever. It was just like, there was a weight off my shoulders. I could breathe. I had more space for other stuff, good and bad, but there was just more space. And so I lived, like my mum existing, but never coexisting. You know what I mean? And because I was juggling a job in Ukraine and in London, and I was doing stuff in Asia, my home was a walk-in closet. And so if I did stay for a week or more in London, I would get hotels. I would avoid my mum or my house at all cost. And then so after the pandemic, when I went through, as some of you listeners know about my depression in one of the episodes that we've talked about, and if not, well, I was depressed in 2020. And then after that, as I was rebuilding from that, one of the things that stuck out to me was my mum's relationship, because I forgave my mum a long time ago. And I understand completely, like what you did, Dwayne, like when you understand, my mum's name's Hortensia, when you understand her and not mum, it all makes sense. So I've cracked the code. Why am I not okay still?
Right.
My mum would say simple things like hello or good morning, and it would get me so vexed. And I'm like, she said hello, Cisco, give her a break. You know what I mean? So I was like, oh my God, I'm wired in such a way to ignore her and suppress her and not even think of her, that now any type of emotion or warmth, I react wrongly. And I react harshly.
Yeah.
I need to get to the bottom of it. So that's the main reason why I went into therapy. Going into therapy, a few other things were happening, because she introduced me into my entitlement and my abandonment issues. So I was like, well, we're nipping that in the bud before we say goodbye, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So I was juggling a few things, but throughout the whole thing, what I like to do is write out letters to things or people that cause a lot of trauma or angst. And so I'm bilingual, but my vocabulary is not as extensive as in English. And so it took me like a few months to construct this letter. And I talked to my mum. I'm like, right, I'm going to go in chronological order. It's going to be the best conversation ever, because this is just for me. For once, I'm going to say it's for self. It's for selfless. It's for selfish reasons. My mum's not going to change. She hasn't got the capacity to. I'm not expecting her to do 4 pirouettes out of nowhere. Like, that's not what this conversation is about. But my mum needs to know why there's that awkward like aroma in the air. You know what I mean? And so I get there, have the conversation. And as I'm having the conversation, I'm having the worst time with Spanish, guys. Like, it's so annoying. Like, it's like sometimes like my Spanish is like bam. And then this time it was like
Spanish under pressure.
Yeah. And then so my mum will be looking and I'll be like pausing. I'm like, for fuck's sake, just get the words out. But also it's because I was very emotional.
Yeah.
So every paragraph and every trauma or situation that you went through, I would leave my mum opportunity to speak just in case she had an opinion, but whatever. And my mum tried, in a nutshell, it was like she didn't remember most of it, which I was surprised about. And then the other thing was like, are you sure that happened? And I was just like, yes. So I can see myself escalating like with like that twang of aggression, right? But I was like, no, this is not what this is about. I didn't lose my cool, but then like, she embraced me and she was like, well, it's happened now, kind of thing. And I'm just like, huh, cool. So then I left the conversation like almost like, I don't know why I expected, but it wasn't that. I was so disappointed, because I think in the back of my mind, from being a retired fixer, might I add.
Yeah.
But in the back of my mind, I just wanted the switch. So then my mum can then do the work in however she wants to, whatever that means to her. But there was nothing. I can see that my mum had a little bit of shame and she was a bit shocked.
That was the switch.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah, I know it's mad, but that was the switch. It just wasn't the switch that you wanted to see.
You wanted, right?
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I'm like, ego aside, like, but again, it didn't feel like nothing. No progress is going to be made. So I was just like, well, you did say, Cisco, it was just for you. Well,
you did.
So then, I'm grumpy in bed. I'm like, fuck, this doesn't feel good, actually. And then, like, I have therapy 2 hours later. So I speak to my therapist, and then I have, mind you, this is 7 months of therapy. And then we're having a conversation and she's like, what's wrong with you today? And I'm just like, oh, I had the conversation. And she's like, wait, you had the conversation with your mom, and why aren't you saying it? I was like, because I was going to get to it. She's like, stop everything. We need to talk about it. So I'm on the phone to her, and then she's like, obviously, like, we need to talk about the conversation. So I tell her everything, and she can feel and see the disappointment because we're on FaceTime, me and my therapist. And I'm just like, well, this is it. This is what it was. I guess I'm going to have to live with it, because the whole point of the conversation has happened now.
Yeah.
And she's like, Cisco, may I say something? And I'm like, sure. And she's like, what was your dreams and aspirations? Like, what is it that you would call your purpose in life? And so I said some personal things and some professional things. And I was like, the main one is to be the Latina Oprah and take the, you know, the hosting world by storm and stuff like that. And she's like, and you've achieved other stuff. You know, you've done Janet Jackson, Madonna, X Factor, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, yeah. She's like, will you call those life dreams and goals? I was like, yeah, those are life dream and goals, duh. And like, I'm so blessed that I've done them, but now I'm going to try and do it again. She's like, you know that that woman, your mum, her life purpose, her dream was for you to be able to do exactly what you're doing now. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah. And then she's like, no, you're not listening to me.
The switch hasn't happened.
That's it. Like the Gen Z or millennial mum is very much like self-work and self-help. Your mum don't come from that. She's a black Latino woman who's been in survival mode and desperation mode from the first second that you came out. And her life purpose was specifically to make sure that you had a roof, that you had food, and that all those little dreams that weren't materialized when you were younger, that you got to them. Your mum's sole purpose is to love and serve you. That's it. Done. She doesn't have a hobby. And
crazy.
I know.
It made you feel differently, innit? It made you see differently.
And I just remember shutting down, and I was just like, oh, holy fuck. Because it sounds like so basic to me, but that's all my mum does. Like, so for those, I've lived in LA for 6 years and I've moved back with my mum when I'm in London. My mum is just ready. Like, if I go behind her, she'd be like, what do you need? Like, it just doesn't stop. My mum, that's all my mum cares about. She doesn't have a hobby. She doesn't buy makeup. She doesn't go for mani-pedi, nothing. She is literally just beck and call for me.
In a way that she knows how.
And I was just like, fuck. And that sentence changed everything. And it's all, like, I would say close to 12 years of, like, discomfort. I would say emotional discomfort with my mum. Because I loved her, but it was hard. I love my friends more. And that's hard because that's the woman that birthed me. That's the black woman that birthed me. You know what I mean? And I should have her up there. And I didn't. And after that sentence, I was like, oh my God, like, mic drop. And I was just like, and she said to me, you do know this will be your last therapy session. And I was like, what? So I'm like in tears, sorry. I'm like in tears. And I'm just like, oh my God, like, what do you mean? And she's like, because you realizing it is the only thing my job was. From the first week that I spoke to you, I knew what the problem was, but you had to get there yourself. Man. And the fact that you understand it now, job done. And so that changed everything. And so there was this 12-year journey of like, wow, my happy ending. And it's weird because, like I said to you minutes ago, it's not the happiest ending. I don't have like a best friend and a mom, and we're not, but it's so sweet now because now I've understood her, and it's almost like I feel the scars and the weight of her sacrifice and her never going 50% with me. My mom will always go 100% for me. She'll wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning to cook me a meal. Yeah. If it needs be.
My mom too.
Do you know what I mean? And I'm just like, I know mums that ain't that.
No.
My mum can't give me a credit card and be like, go to the shop.
But she's doing it.
Yeah. She'll make sure I eat, but she ain't cooking nothing.
Yeah. But do you know what I mean? And I was just like, then I looked at my mum the next morning and I was like, with my tail between my legs. And I was just like, because then I was like, wow, I've got so much more work to do. And it's all me. It's got nothing to do with her.
I've got to write another note in Spanish saying I understand.
Yeah, but... and
you're such an idiot, bro. But that was beautiful. That was nice.
Yeah. So I suggest you sit down with mum with another note and go, I get it.
Well, he doesn't need to.
Well, I think I can say that in Spanish.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was the most profound, happy ending in my life because I always said if my mum died before I cracked that code, I wouldn't have kids. Because I know life would dish me the same type of child. Mm-hmm. And I don't want that. I don't have to be best friends with my kids, but there needs to be an undivine, untouched, untampered love that will see through every single type of, trial and tribulation. And I don't have that with my mum, or I didn't have that with my mum. And with the assistance of my with my therapist, once I cracked the code, I was like, wow, this next chapter of self-work is going to be a long one because I have to undo nearly 12 years of feeling certain way about someone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the reason why I shared that is because I think especially a lot of male men of color, specifically because like Dwayne and I said, when our mums talk, that's it. It's the gospel. Don't ask it. And unfortunately, when you grow up and become your own adults and your own heroes, you're going to look at your parents and be like, that's fucked up. Or I disagree with that. And judgment comes first. If you take the time to really try to decipher the how and the why, and then weigh how much their contribution to you was, especially if they were a successful parent, as in their 100%, it doesn't matter what happened, man. They just deserve the world. And like a mum, and until you're a parent, like you can't fathom what love is. You know what I mean? Like it's a love that I still can't understand, but I know I'm flawed when I think about it, because my mum's situation, she shouldn't have made it a lot of times, and that woman did everything, and them some, you know. And so like it made me reflect and think, fuck, what a brat. Why wasn't I intelligent enough to like figure that out, you know? But I'm lucky she's still healthy, and there's time to make new memories, you know what I mean? But I'm so happy for that happy ending, and I've got a boyfriend now who really tries to involve my mum in our relationship. He speaks Spanish to her. If it's a dinner, he always asks, does she want to come? Do you know what I mean? And that's stepping stones for us, because I try to avoid my mum at all costs, but yet love her. You know,
of course.
It's so weird.
You never stopped loving your mum, but there was difficulty.
It was difficult to do it sometimes. Yeah, you know what I mean.
I understand.
But I'm a work in progress with her, and I would say to men, especially with complications with parents, do not be afraid to get therapy.
Yeah.
Like when you find that therapist, honestly, you are gonna. I promise you're gonna say, "What took me so long?" Because it's honestly the best investment I have ever done to myself, even more than my first dance class. It's a relationship that I now understand, and that weight of understanding is my biggest weapon in my arsenal.
Love that.
Because how I treat women, how I treat black women, specifically mums, will forever be changed now, because I've cracked a code that was causing so much hurt and confusion and negativity in my soul, and I don't have that weight anymore.
That's lovely.
Now I'm just cleaning up the debris.
Damn.
Yeah, this one got deep.
Yeah, but it was necessary.
And usually I end with a progressing question, but now I'm gonna end with a progressing request. Those that still have their parents, regardless of how involved they were in their life, just take the time, take that call, and just try to understand them, because most of the time, from my experiences, is they're working with the best they've got. And that might not be enough for you, but it doesn't mean it's not enough.
I love you, Mum.
Yeah.
Love you, Mum.
Wow.
Yeah. Te amo, mama. For real. So on that note, a very emotional goodbye, and remember to keep it real without the spiel.